Today, we are diving into one of the biggest shifts happening in technology right now, how AI is completely changing the job of a software architect. And spoiler alert, it's not about replacement. It's about a powerful new partnership.
Every now and then, a piece of tech comes along that's so powerful, it literally changes how we talk. It just weaves itself into our language. And it really looks like we're on the verge of one of those moments again. The word of the year for 2025? It's not just a word. It's a sign of a massive change in how we build software.
And here it is, vibe coding. Andre Karpathy came up with this, and the idea is just incredible. You just describe the vibe of what you want to build, in plain English. And an AI can take that feeling, that intent, and turn it directly into working code. I mean, that's a huge shift from having to write perfect syntax to just describing an outcome.
So that leads to the big question, doesn't it? It's one thing for an AI to spit out a little bit of code, maybe a simple app. But what about the big picture? Can it really handle all the complexity, the trade-offs, the strategic thinking that goes into designing a whole system? Can it actually architect?
Well, the most powerful way to think about this right now is not as a replacement, but as a co-pilot, an intelligent assistant that's there to enhance and speed up the core human-driven work that architects are doing every single day. See, at its heart, architecture has this fundamental loop. This is the human part, right? You take an idea and some context. You try to make sense of it all. You come up with some proposals. You evaluate them. And you go round and round in that cycle until you land on a solid decision. It's a deeply human creative process. So where does our AI co-pilot fit in? Well, it starts with something as simple as this, a natural language prompt. You're not fussing around with drawing boxes and arrows. You're just talking, describing what you want to see just like you would to a colleague. And bam, just like that, the AI generates a totally coherent, standard diagram that brings your request to life. This isn't just about saving time. It's about removing all that tedious friction, letting you stay on the flow, and focus on the architectural idea itself. And this is exactly how AI speeds up that core loop we just talked about. It can help make sense of things by summarizing requirements. It can generate documentation and diagrams to help you propose ideas. And it can even help you evaluate by analyzing trade-offs. The human is still in charge, still making the final call, but a lot of the heavy lifting just gets automated. Now this builds into an even bigger idea. We're moving beyond just creating pictures to defining the very soul of our architecture in a way that machines can actually understand, version, and check for us. We're moving to architecture as code.
Think about the old way. So manual, so tedious. What a pain, right? You'd spend more time trying to get boxes to line up than actually thinking about the system. The new way, diagrams as code, treats your architecture just like your application code. You define it in text, it's super easy to update, and it lives in source control, giving you a perfect history of every decision.
And here's what it looks like in the real world. On the left, a simple Python script describing a classic 3-tier architecture. You run that script, and on the right, you get a perfect, professionally laid out diagram. Change one line of that code, the diagram updates instantly. This is a total game changer for speed and consistency. But this goes way beyond just diagrams. Architecture as code, or AASC, is about defining the whole shebang, the components, how they relate, even the rules, in a format a machine can read. This means you can automatically validate your design and make sure it never drifts away from the actual implementation. Okay, so that's for one system. But what happens when you apply these incredible ideas not just to one project, but across an entire enterprise? This is where AI could help solve some of the absolute biggest headaches in architectural governance. To do this at scale, you need a standard. Everyone has to speak the same language. And that's where something like Calm comes in. It's basically a spec for describing architectures in a consistent, machine-readable way. Think of it as the universal translator that lets all your tools and teams understand and automate architecture across the whole organization. So here's how that works. First, the enterprise architects define their standards. All new stuff must be on the public cloud, as code. Then, the dev teams document their own systems using that COM format. From there, automated tools can instantly check a team's design against the enterprise rules, catching problems super early and even plugging these checks right into the deployment pipeline. This is basically continuous governance.
Okay, but with all of this incredible power and automation, there's also some significant risk. We have to talk about the other edge of this sword, because AI is not perfect, and when it gets architecture wrong, the mistakes can be quiet, they can be subtle, and they can be very, very bad.
This brings us to a really critical concept: architectural hallucination. This is when a large language model confidently and very convincingly generates an architecture that is just deeply flawed, or insecure, or totally nonsensical. It looks plausible, but it's dangerously long. And these hallucinations can pop up in all sorts of nasty ways. The AI might suggest using a service that was retired years ago. It could recommend a massive security no-no, like making a database public. It might completely ignore crucial things like cost and compliance. And maybe, worst of all, relying on it too much could dull our own critical thinking skills. This is why human oversight isn't just important, it is absolutely essential. This quote really just gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? For all our talk about diagrams and code and automation, the real work of an architect has always been and will always be deeply human. And that's because, at the end of the day, architecture happens in the space between people. It's all about navigating messy, ambiguous problems, negotiating between competing priorities, and building a consensus. That takes empathy, it takes communication, and it takes courage, skills an AI just doesn't have. So where does that leave us? Well, this isn't a story of human versus machine. Not at all. The future is hybrid. It's a powerful team-up of human expertise augmented by the incredible speed and precision of AI. This is the partnership we should be aiming for. The raw analytical power of the machine, combined with the wisdom, the context, and the strategic thinking of the human mind. Each one makes the other better. Ultimately, the goal here is augmentation, not replacement. The idea is for AI to handle the 80%, the tedious diagramming, the documentation, the first drafts, so that human architects can focus their precious time and energy on the 20% that really matters: the high-stakes decisions, the complex negotiations, and the long-term strategic vision. And so that leaves us with one final and pretty important question for you to think about. As these AI copilots get woven into our daily work, the skills that make a great architect are going to shift. The future won't belong to people who can be replaced by AI, but to those who know how to command it. So, what uniquely human skills, like strategic thinking, empathy, and communication, are you going to cultivate to make sure you always stay in the driver's seat?